Hey, it's Soul, back with another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that takes all the garbage that I've been spewing throughout the week and repeat it. Smart. Hit the like button, subscribe to support common sense, copium-filled commentary, and we begin with a confession. I try my best to avoid certain gameplay-related spoilers, like dungeons and raids, because I want to try and experience them with fresh eyes and be bludgeoned by them eventually. But the other day, I gave in. The FOMO got to me. I got sick and tired of watching other alpha testers go on about how dragon racing is so fun. Doing the courses feels so great, and I'm like, okay, fine. You're like pulling my leg, you totally forced me in it. I tried out one course, just one course of dragon riding. Okay, actually I raced the crap out of it, and it was fun. It was really, really fun, and it was fast, and it was kind of choppy too. So why am I kicking off the weekly with something like this? It's because, well, only 20% of viewers make it to the end of these videos, so while I can do it, I want to show you the endgame capabilities of dragon riding, which, by the way, is one of the numerous activities that will be part of optional endgame in Dragonflight. So this is kind of an awkward segue, but yeah, we're going to talk about what we've learned this week about max level content. More and more clues are coming in, revealing all sorts of activities throughout the Dragon Isles unlocked through separate reputations. Here's what we know so far. The Dragon Scale Expedition features a Pokemon Snap kind of activity and rock climbing. The Tuskar faction will feature special places to hunt for fish, like special fishing nodes, and even cast nets. Now, this is total headcanon. This is not happening, but maybe. I wonder if this net thing is going to be a sort of offline progression where we cast a net, we leave it there for a little while, and then we return to see what gets caught. I mean, probably not, but just fun to think about. The Centaur faction is going to have us on hunting expeditions featuring an animal companion. We'll be able to choose between a bird and a puppy, and everyone will choose the puppy. Finally, the Valdrakken Accord faction features advanced dragon riding courses like what you saw just earlier. As for reputations, Renown 2.0, as people are calling it, is not testable yet, but we've learned a lot from data mining. Don't worry, there's not going to be any spoilers, but the vibe that I'm reading so far is that the activities I mentioned are going to be unlocked via this Renown stuff fairly early. For example, while leveling, there are going to be quests that introduce us to rock climbing and picture taking. Normal dragon racing courses might be available immediately once we get onto those mounts, and the vast majority of rewards from these reputations is about unlocking cosmetics and opening up features, which, based on what we've heard from developer interviews, should be unlocked account-wide or else. There are other rewards in these Renown tracks like recipes and even a few pieces of high-level gear, which are not designed to be account-wide. We've already been told this. Thankfully, there are account-wide rep bonuses that we can open up as well. It seems like everyone's getting their win between updating reputation, having most stuff unlocked account-wide, and rep bonuses for alts for the rest of the stuff. The way that I'm describing all this, though, it also sounds very confusing. So as I learn more, I will share this knowledge with you right here on the channel. Valdrazus and Valdrakken, the Dragonflight capital, opened its doors this week, and I'm already digging the environment and the vibrance. It's going to be super cool to be hanging around in the city while dragon riders are like, flying off, hopefully to not fail a key. With the opening of this zone, I was able to test out crafting orders as well inside the city, and boy, they are actually not ready for testing, but I tried it anyway. The premise here is simple. You make a crafting order and it gets posted. A crafter then comes to this menu and looks at what there is to craft, selects it, and then takes the order. They then have half an hour to complete the order. It's kind of neat because in that half hour, the order is taken off of the board so no one else can see it for a little while. However, if the crafter that took the order fails to make the item, it's put back up. From the looks of it, the crafter is going to have to complete the order right then and there. So if they happen to be like, ah, snap, I'm short on a couple materials, like they're in the mailbox or something, well, poop. You're gonna have to walk away, closing the window, and I think it immediately reposts a work order for you or maybe someone else to pick up. One of my guildmates, though, they posed a question that I'm gonna share with you. They were asking, well, what if someone were to go to the crafting order menu and then accept a work order, but then just sit on it for the sole purpose of taking it off the public market? Now, there is a point to this, and even though it's kind of malicious, like if I wanted to have a shield made for me and I offered 10,000 gold on the crafting order market thing, but someone else wanted the same shield and they offered 20,000 gold, I could theoretically put up my own work order request thing, but then I could accept their work order for that shield just for the sake of taking it off the market, while hoping that someone else picks up my work order on the shield. I admit it's really convoluted, it's a really edge case, and the way it works right now, like, if I wanted to do that, I'd have to stand there for the entire time just sitting on that particular work order. So it's not a very practical way of being cutthroat, but these are the kinds of things that we ought to be thinking about while we're still testing the alpha. Meanwhile, the experience needed to level a freshly made character has been cut nearly in half. The data miners over at Wowhead made a chart showing the difference in experience requirements from levels 1 to 59, revealing an over 50% reduction in experience required. But does it actually mean that we'll be leveling that much faster? No. All that's happening really is that they're taking the level 1 through 60 experience values and stretching it out to the upcoming 1 through 60 values in Dragonflight. So here's a cheap visual to help you out, because I definitely needed a second to understand this. This value right here is the total experience that you need to level from 1 to 50 right now. And I'll just throw a label on it. I'm going to call this the experience that you need before current content, which in this case is Shadowlands. According to the Wowhead post, this value here is the total experience that you need to level from 1 to 60. This is the difference of roughly like 70,000 experience, which is like a time walking dungeon. What I'm trying to point out here is that the experience needed to get from level 1 to the new expansion is roughly the same amount of experience. Now, leveling is sort of going to feel faster because there are more levels to gain with almost the same amount of experience, but it's not 50% faster. And it'll feel different because with every level, you don't just get a thing, you get a choice of things with each talent tree point. Skinning and inscription professions made their way into the alpha, and while the jury's still out, I'm pretty pleased with both so far. Skinning and I guess the other gathering professions are going to be able to specialize and maybe create their own niche items. Like, do you want to do better at just getting leather or scales or elemental items? Do you want to make fishing bait? Do you want to set bait and trap elusive creatures for skins to sell on the market? Skinning feels like it's going to be a lot more fun and a little bit less mindless in Dragonflight. And with Inscription, we've also learned that Dark Moon cards and thus Dark Moon deck trinkets can be found by anybody. They'll just be semi-rare world drops and players can freely trade them around to make basic Dark Moon fair trinkets. But scribes aren't having power taken away from them. In fact, they'll be able to take these decks and make boxes, these high-level trinkets all the way up to mythic level, which I find very cool. And of course, we got to talk about the Dracthyr Soar Nerf. It's in this week, and I'm just gonna let the footage speak for itself. Okay, just kidding. I'll never shut up. I'm not gonna lie to you. In so few words, it feels bad. The lack of speed, even when descending in almost a straight line, it doesn't feel as natural as it did before. I think players who can resist fall damage know this feeling where if you want to go down a high elevation, falling down and then using your ability last second is just way faster than getting on your 310 speed mount and flying downwards. This is one of those cases where, to be honest, you should be happy that you're not testing this, so you're never going to really know the difference. But that's not actually going to be the case here, because dragon riding has not been nerfed, meaning come Dragonflight, everyone is going to get to feel the difference between the awesomeness of dragon riding and the whackness of the 5-minute racial. So I'm still all in for reverting the nerf, but if not, I think at the very least a few adjustments to how fast you can turn and pitch up and down would make a really big difference in how soaring feels after this build, not to mention maybe reducing the cooldown. Of course, I know you're still preparing your scathing comment, so don't let me stop you, alright? This week, Season 4 launched with the momentum of a train crash, but the train's still moving, although it's still on fire. Welcome to Season 4. So yeah, quaking is going on at the time, so there's the quaking, and then... As predicted, Season 4 of Mythic Keystone Dungeons began like any season where new dungeons are being introduced, resulting in people getting slaughtered by mechanics. I've yet to run any dungeons myself because I'm a coward, but from observation it feels like a more or less evenly mixed bag of success, in part of players who are plowing their way through towards Keystone Master pretty comfortably. Fated Raids also had its own rocky start. Raid Finder difficulty absolutely melted at first because it wasn't tuned right. Other difficulties in the meantime needed to be adjusted and then readjusted because of scaling issues, and yet, overall, the premise of Fated Raids kind of worked out so far. My team only cleared 8 out of the 10 heroic bosses in the 2 nights we had, and we'll try slamming normal over the weekend. Between us, we just don't have the throughput to like overpower everything, so the experience in these raids felt a little bit spiced up thanks to the affixes without changing too much of what the fights actually were, so it felt fun. It sucks that it's going to be a couple of weeks before we return to try and clear the entire raid, so I'll be looking forward to when, after a few rotations, all the raids will be faded simultaneously. It's going to happen. As for exactly when it is, it'll probably be around the time players would say it's too little too late. And we've got to talk about this mobile Warcraft MMO game that was apparently cancelled after 3 years of development. It was a partnership between Blizzard and NetEase, who operates World of Warcraft in China. The story broke in a Bloomberg article citing that NetEase disbanded a team of more than 100 developers. The reasons for the cancellation are unknown at this point. A spokesperson for Activision said that there wasn't a financial disagreement between the two companies like the article originally alleged. Between this and the cancelled Warcraft mobile pet game from a little while back, it highlights the fact that game development is really costly, and sometimes years of work among hundreds of people will never see the light of day. Overwatch, which was what rose from the ashes of the cancelled Project Titan, is not an everyday story, so what might have happened in this case? I'm going to make up a story here that is 100% grounded in the reality up my ass. Anyway, Blizzard and NetEase have partnered up in the past. I already mentioned that they run World of Warcraft in China, but they were also the other partner in the development of Diablo Immortal, a decent, a competent, and a very profitable mobile game that was marred by greed and the usual sentiment of grrr anti-microtransactions, which was partially fueled by streamers who poured like tens of thousands of dollars for the sake of their audience, some of that money coming from their own audience to complete this weird profitable circle of hatred. I think that the reception of Diablo Immortal soured the momentum of releasing another mobile game between these two companies again. Maybe Blizzard was like, yeah, maybe such a predatory game is not a great idea, and NetEase is like, nah, it's okay, it's your rep that's taking the hits, come here and take that money. Somehow I don't think that the roles were switched, especially when we consider Warcraft Arclight Rumble, which does have in-app purchases, but at least so far, nothing remotely close to Diablo Immortal or even Hearthstone's potential for whaling. It shows how Blizzard knows where it can hold back. I'm kind of mixed on this story though, because, well, a lot of dev time ended up being wasted, which I feel bad for. We're not gonna get a Warcraft Immortal, which I don't feel bad for. My hopes though are that the concepts could somehow be salvaged into something else, like whether it's a new game, maybe a new WoW expansion or something. But here's the problem. Blizzard and NetEase worked on this game together, and somewhere in their agreements, probably, they may have co-ownership of whatever that corpse is. So if so, they may not be able to pull anything out of that, whether it's the overall concept or the gameplay, the art, or maybe story, without having to negotiate some sort of deal. So I see a pretty low chance of us seeing anything come out of this canceled game. I just hope that I'm wrong. That's the show, and here's how we did this week. Alright, orbs are down, get them. Arth say lust, whenever.
Oh, you can lust.
Wow.
No
mobs out.
It's for the healers, not for you.
Oh, fuck the healers.
This healer fight.
Buggy. I was like, where the fuck are the mobs too, bro?
Oh, that was good. Fuck the healers, man. I'm trying to do a job.
Try to parse, motherfucker.
So like I said, it was fun. Like, we wiped a lot and we had fun and we wiped a lot. I shouldn't be, but I guess I feel impressed that all it really took was to bump some values up, and ta-da, a nearly 2-year-old raid feels like we're running it in Heroic all over again with a team that's just kind of rusty on the mechanics and, well, was just kind of okay with it in the first place. So far I think that faded raids are a winner. I don't know how the results of this experiment will translate into later content, but if the subject of the experiment is how to make the lull be better on a budget, it feels like this is a step in the right direction. But I'd love to have a bit more to do if I'm not raiding or running keys. In this case, in Shadowlands, I think it would be helpful to have a nice fat anima boost and to get rid of all them time gates from the Sanctums and in Zereth Mortis. Maybe that alone is more than what the team could whip together in this case, but if there's a lesson to be learned, it's to not forget about the folks outside of the big three. Dragonflight is doing a lot for that, I get it, but it's not happening today, and today some players are really feeling let down. Let's pick things back up though. Next week in Dragonflight Land, we can expect to check out the Onaran Plains, the second leveling zone in Dragonflight and the last zone to test out before they open up all the zones simultaneously, which we presume is in the following week. Warriors were given a look this week with a lot of back and forth responses between players and developers. In fact, this was going around with all the classes and it's been pretty great. Meanwhile, a few more classes are left to go. Warlocks, monks, holy paladins, demon hunters, and I think that's it. And if it wasn't, then you're free to get mad. I want to give a big shout out to the fam over on Twitch. Thank you so much for being there to help give feedback and check out all the cool alpha things. To our patrons, thank you for continuing to supply my coffee, and to you, viewer, for making it to the end. I wish you all a fun and fantastic weekend, and I'll see you for the Monday video. Until next time, folks, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.